All right, Keity, so you're not exactly sure if the question that your doctor asked you was appropriate or not. Is it truly medical? Does it even matter?
It's a comment that she said that kind of rubbed me the wrong way and left me confused, and I didn't know how to react.
So it's a female doctor.
Yes, it is. I went to my OBGYN recently to get my little lady parts checked out, right? And
Your annual, good for you.
Yes. And going there, I'm already nervous. Like, I already,
yeah.
It's just, oh my gosh.
You're
They
like,
even
this-
have to be all up in there. It's just,
The duck bills, the stirrups, all of it.
Sidebar on this one, yeah. Because Mo and I have only gone through this once or twice.
You have gone through it once.
The annual. I'm just kidding.
No, you have.
Well, play annual. I mean, not really.
You weren't here, but this was BM before Mo, even though that doesn't sound
Ew.
right, so we're not going to say that again. When we did Live Like a Woman Week, which you did experience, Bert had to go get an annual exam.
Oh, you did?
He went to my. He went
that's
to my.
what you're talking about.
Yes, you
I
went to
thought-
my general practitioner, and Dr. Hurley gave you I mean, granted, she couldn't do all the things because you don't have all the parts, but you got to experience what it was like to put your feet in the
Stirrups and-
stirrup.
ooh.
I thought maybe
man, I'm glad I missed that one.
I thought I maybe had told you about some role playing thing Tiffany and I
No,
are doing.
I'm
but
going to
no.
pass on that. You keep that to yourself.
Right.
hey.
All right, so the anxiety that comes with going to an annual, just as a sidebar here, is what? That it's going to be uncomfortable. You got, even if it's a female, it's just an uncomfortable situation. They're looking at your most private part.
Exactly. I have to get naked and just put it all out there, all in her face, and then she has to go all up in there. And on this day, I almost kicked her because she went too far. And I was like, woman, you can't go any further than that. So that was already a thing. But of course, at the doctor, they're going to ask you questions about your sexual activity and all this stuff. And of course, she asked my sexuality, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I tell her, I'm a lesbian and stuff. And then she asked me, where do I live? I tell her, the area that I live in. And she says, oh, so you must live in like one of those communities. And
Those communities?
Excuse
yeah.
me.
And she just says it like this. She's like, you must live in like one of those communities as she's marking down stuff. And I'm like, those communities? So I look at her. I'm like,
The lesbians have their own little community.
what do you mean? She's like, oh, so it must be like a prominent gay community that you live in.
What? Why? What?
What?
So I'm just confused. I don't know how to react. I'm like, what is she talking? Why? I'm like, it's a suburb. It's just,
Yeah.
it's like where I grew up. I don't know what the gay community looks like out there. Like,
Are there gated
What?
communities for just gay people?
That's so bizarre.
not that I know of. So I'm just really confused. And I leave the office confused still. But then I'm like, why would she ask that?
Yeah.
And why would you just assume that I live in
And
a
what
gay?
does that have to do with your vagina?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's so many things going through my head. And I'm just like, what?
All right, maybe somebody listening can give us some info here. 1-855-BERT-SHOW. Well, I understand her asking you what your sexual preference is because, if you're dealing with, how do I say, if you're dealing with peens up there, it's going to be a different situation, right? If you're a doctor, right?
Is it relevant
Yeah,
to the
I guess.
process? I don't know.
I would sure think so.
I think they just do that for, first of all,
They want to know your sexual history and as far as like for potential STDs, et cetera,
Yeah.
like that. So they're going to ask questions, but still, I would love a doctor to call right now. Let's just put it that way.
Which part of this is confusing you the most? The part about
The community.
The community one.
The community comment makes zero sense to me.
and so I'm in my head, I'm thinking, are you trying to rule out cities to stay away from? Like, what could be your reason for asking me? First of all, the area that I live in. Well, when she asked that, I thought she was just asking, casual, like small talk, oh, what area do you live in? But then when she made the reference of me living in a gay community, I'm like, are you assuming that because of my sexuality, I'm only going to live around gay people? Like heterosexual people only live around heterosexual people? Like, what is the reasoning?
I wish we knew her tone.
It was nonchalant. It was like,
It was just like fact finding.
just like how I said it was, oh, so you must live in those communities. And I'm like, those communities? And she's like,
What?
yeah, gay community. Like, she said it just like that, just cheery. And
Does age matter here? Is she like in her 70s or something?
she looked like she was in her 50s.
Okay. No.
No.
Yeah, it didn't help much. No, I don't. That is so weird.
I'm perplexed. And I feel like, and when you go get your annual, like you want to have a good rapport with your OBGYN because, not for all, but for some, it is an uncomfortable situation. And you want to be at ease when you go into that appointment. So if this is something that you're still thinking about and is bothersome, and I completely understand why, because it's off-putting, like the comment's off-putting. I really feel like you should ask her about it.
It's just odd. It's just a really odd question.
Yeah, you should have definitely asked her for clarification.
And you still can. Like, you can, if you have like a my chart with them, you can follow up and be like, hey, so something's bothering me about our last visit. When you said this, what did you mean by it?
Tanya, good morning. You were on the Bert Show. Hi.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. We're all a little confused by the question that, after Keity says I'm a lesbian, that the doctor goes, oh, you must live in one of those communities.
Oh, I get it. I mean, I think the doctor was just being, she was probably, how you sometimes, think aloud. She doesn't mean specifically like your residential area, your neighborhood and so forth. She's referring to in her head, like, the lesbian community, like, okay, how do I be sensitive? I mean, I love the gays, by the way. Okay.
Not like that.
Well, now we know you're an ally.
It has to be said. Anywho,
all right.
But she was just thinking, there's a stigma to it. I mean, there is a stigma, and so she was like thinking like sexually, because. Yeah. Okay.
No, you know what?
OBGYN nurse. Okay, as a OBGYN nurse, I don't know what I'm allowed to say here, but I'm sure you can believe whatever. I mean, there's stuff that goes on. Okay. Like for instance, we had patients who would constantly come in, and we'd have to retract things that they basically shove in their hoo-ha, okay? I mean, we'd have like necklaces, like army men. I mean, you just don't even know. I mean.
Okay,
in that area is where I'm talking and trying not to go to.
Okay, so all right, so Tanya, let me just, because I know you're trying to be helpful here. So
yes.
Why is the assumption that only lesbians would do anything like that?
No, it's not. It's not. It's not an assumption like that. She's just thinking, whips and chains and all the the toys and stuff, and that's where she was thinking. But she probably misspoke. She was just thinking aloud, but she was not referring to the neighborhood physically. It's like, All
right, so she was referring to, I'm trying to get this right. I'm trying.
Oh, not where you live, but just the overall
your community.
Yeah,
so that's the community.
And it was not meant as, it was not meant as a slight. I would at least have hoped. I mean, as a female, then again, I can't speak for it.
This is way more than you bargained for, isn't it? You're like, right now you're going like.
Give people the benefit of the doubt and not a total douchebag, But, I mean, some people are just douche nozzles and you just can't do anything about it. But she just spoke I think she just spoke aloud instead of that inner monologue. And, we've seen some crazy things, and she was just.
You're good, Tanya.
You're good,
okay.
Tanya. You're great. You're good.
Thank you for calling.
We appreciate you.
Keity?
Thank you for loving the gays.
Yes.
We appreciate that.
Are you not going to address the necklace of army men?
Oh,
no, it was necklace.
And then we pulled out a barrel of monkeys.
No.
They were all hooked together.
Can we please talk to Tyler? No,
Tyler, you
yes.
want to talk to? All right.
Yes.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Yeah,
Good
hold
morning,
on one
Tyler.
second, Tyler. I'm still just trying to process the last call.
Take your time.
Because anything that she really said could apply to any woman, right?
Exactly. But from what I took from what Tanya was saying is that she just, my doctor asking me if I'm a part of a lesbian community, because apparently we shove a lot of random stuff up our hoo-ha. That's all I heard. That's all I heard.
I've been looking for that remote.
Army men?
Okay, Tyler, your turn, bud.
Yes.
All righty. Well, good morning, guys. Love the show.
Thank you.
I guess let me start with, I'm a gay physician, first and foremost. But, I think that the first part of that question was totally appropriate, asking, her sexual orientation. Because, honestly, there are some types of screenings that differ amongst straight and gay/lesbian people, you know? So I think as a primary care doctor, that's really important. But the second part was totally inappropriate and was her displacing her own kind of internal beliefs and thoughts on her patient. And to kind of piggyback off of the prior caller, I've worked in an ER and I've pulled some very unusual things out of heterosexual couples things.
There we go.
So
It's a nice balance out
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about some of these lists online. I mean, we did it in the bonus
yeah.
content, but I mean, people like, oops, falling on a light bulb. Oops, that can happen.
Okay, so Keity, are you going to go back to this doctor? Are you going to reach out to this doctor? Or are you going to let it go?
I'm not letting it go.
Okay.
It's either I'm reaching out or not going back.
I like
because
that.
I just felt some type of way about that comment.
I do like the idea of you starting your own gated community, but Gayted.
You're an idiot.
Gated community.
Fire.
All right?
Fire.
I run with it. Okay. Run with it.
The Bert Show.
Like what you just watched? Well, you can get a lot more of The Bert Show for free on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.